What are the conditions? Okay, someone says, I want to perform Hajj. Well, there have to be conditions that are fulfilled. And the first condition, as usual, is Islam, due to the fact that it is a form of worship. So a person has to be a Muslim so that Allah Azza wa Jal would accept his Hajj. Without Islam, no prayer, no zakat, no fasting, no Hajj is accepted. The second pillar is sanity. So in order for a person's Hajj to be valid, he has to be sane, which means that if we go for Hajj and we take someone who is insane with us, we accompany him with us. So he goes with us to Mina, to Arafat, insane. And then after a few years, he recovers, gains his sanity, and becomes normal again. Would that Hajj be sufficient? The answer is no. Because the condition was not fulfilled. He was insane. And the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ is clear. The pen of accountability is lifted as regards to three types of people, and one of them is the insane until he regains his sanity. The third condition is reaching the age of puberty. The same hadith we've just mentioned, the Prophet said, ﷺ, the child until he has attained puberty. So a person is not accountable until he reaches the age of puberty. Which means that if a child were to perform Hajj when he was 10 years of age, and he remembers everything he did in Hajj, and it was according or up to the book, then he reached adulthood. We tell him, you have to go and perform Hajj again, because you're ordered to perform Hajj once in a lifetime, and the conditions were not fulfilled when you performed it with your parents. Of course, one would say, okay, if it's not accounted for, why would he do it? Well, a woman carried an infant to the Prophet ﷺ and said, O Prophet of Allah, does this one have Hajj obliged upon him? Or is it valid for him to perform Hajj? And the Prophet said, yes, and you will have reward for it. But the consensus of all scholars that this hadith is regarding the reward and the validity, not that it would be sufficient for his one lifetime Hajj, which each and every Muslim is obliged to do. Therefore, he has to perform Hajj again once he reaches adulthood. Number 4, freedom. The fourth condition is that a slave cannot perform Hajj like a child cannot perform Hajj, in the sense that he can perform Hajj and the child can perform Hajj, but would it suffice for the Hajj of Islam? The answer is no, because the condition was not fulfilled. So even if the master approved his slave to go for Hajj, some scholars, an issue of dispute, said that once he's freed, he has to go for Hajj. He has to perform his Hajj. Others say that no, this is permissible. He can consider that to be his Hajj, because scholars who said a slave does not perform Hajj meant that it's not obligatory upon a slave, because he's owned and possessed by his master, and by allowing, or let us say by obliging him to go for Hajj, that his slave to go these days, and he has to spend over him and pay him, etc. And the fifth condition is the ability. Allah says in the Quran, pilgrimage to this house is a duty owed to Allah by all people who are able to undertake it. وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا. So it is a duty, it's a must to perform Hajj if you have the ability. But what is meant by ability? There are two types of ability, generally speaking, to all Muslims. One is the physical ability. A woman during the Hajj period came to the Prophet ﷺ with her father on a camel, unable to sit clearly, he's almost going to fall. And she said that my father cannot sit on a ride, so transportation is a problem. So can I perform Hajj on his behalf? And the Prophet ﷺ said yes, meaning that it's not obliged upon such an old person to perform Hajj when he's unable to do that. So physical ability is a must. Someone who is handicapped, who has special needs, who can barely walk, can only be carried around, or would fall sick or faint if he travels or if he goes to such places, they are all exempted from performing Hajj. In addition to physical ability, there is also the financial ability. Someone who's healthy, who's strong, who has the physical ability, but he doesn't have dinaros, he doesn't have money. So Allah Azza wa Jal does not oblige him to go, simply because he doesn't have the cash. Should he beg? Definitely not. Should he ask for zakat? Definitely not. Simply, he should not go until he can financially afford it. And by the way, affording it is not simply paying the ticket, paying the camp, paying the fees of Hajj. It also includes that he leaves enough provision for his family and for himself when he comes back to find available, rather than being stone broke and begging people. So you have to have what it is needed to go back. And a female also has a condition of ability of her own. So in addition of physical and financial ability, a female has an extra condition, which is the companionship of a mahram. What is a mahram? A mahram is a male companion prohibited for a woman to marry for life. So her brother-in-law, she's prohibited to marry as long as he's married to her sister. But if her sister dies, or if she divorces him, then he can marry her. He's not a mahram. A father, a son, a brother, a paternal or maternal uncle, a nephew, these are all mahram by kinship. We have also the father-in-law and the son-in-law and the stepfather and the stepson also being part of the mahram, and so on. So she has to have the companionship of one mahram who is an adult, who is a Muslim, to accompany her.